Hi everybody, Steve here at Belmont Memorial Park in Fresno, California. And at the moment, I'm standing in this outdoor mausoleum structure trying to shelter my camera from the wind. It's a little breezy here. I'm not sure it's helping much, but I'm here to visit the final resting place of Richard Kiel. I'm not sure if he pronounced it Kiel or Kyle, but I'm guessing Kyle. And it looks like they're getting ready to have a funeral pretty nearby, so I'm going to try to keep my voice low so I don't disturb anyone. He played Jaws in 2 of the 007 James Bond films. He had such a distinctive look. He was so tall that next to shorter actors, he often looked like a giant, and his menacing mouth of metal made him unforgettable as the James Bond villain Jaws. And he was in a very small club of only a few actors who ever played a Bond villain in more than one James Bond film. His character and voice was also later used in a half-dozen different James Bond video games. According to the GPS on his Find a Grave memorial page, his gravesite is located near the back of the cemetery on the right-hand side, just in front of the outdoor mausoleums. Now these are nicely marked. I see the curbs are very nicely marked, which is not always the case with cemeteries. They usually can make it very helpful. This is a really nice chapel. Not sure what style that is. Almost looks Italian. It's really a very pretty structure. I'm assuming it's a chapel. It might be a columbarium or a mausoleum. And I heard some bells ringing just a little while ago from the cemetery next door, so I'm guessing they came from this tower. I think I'm going to drive all the way around this circle to see what it looks like from every angle. And I apologize if this is making you dizzy. I love cemeteries with bell towers like this, and this certainly is the centerpiece of this cemetery. During his career, Richard Kiel appeared in nearly 50 movies and dozens of TV show episodes. He's probably best remembered, though, by most for his role as Jaws, the James Bond villain, in the 1977 film The Spy Who Loved Me, and once again in the 1979 007 film Moonraker. In 1999, he also lampooned his Jaws character in a cameo performance in the movie Inspector Gadget. He appeared in a number of other movie classics, and some of you might also remember him as the voice of Vlad in the 2010 Disney animated feature Tangled. As an actor, he really did have quite a range. And I just read something kind of funny about Kiel before making this trip up here today. He worked in a number of jobs prior to becoming an actor, and one of those jobs was as a cemetery plot salesman. Can you imagine trying to say no to Jaws as he tried to sell you on a cemetery plot? So it looks like I'm getting close here. Now isn't that interesting? It says balloons and windmills are always prohibited. Boy, I see those in cemeteries all the time, and those are some of my favorite things to see, but I guess they could cause issues and problems. His GPS was a little off, but it did say that he was in the Garden of Pines. And it indicated that it was actually over there by my car, right where my car is parked. I don't think that's the Garden of Pines section as well. And he's just really one grave in here from the curb. And there's no indication of, what plot or number, but this says 1003, and he's right here. And this is the photo that's currently on his Find a Grave memorial page. And there is a photo request, to update it to, I guess everyone assumes that he would have a headstone by now. Well, I'm really sad to see that Richard Kiel, who died in 2014, was that almost 7 years ago, still has no headstone. He just has the original marker that was placed by either by the cemetery or by the funeral home. I wonder if his family can't afford it, or if he didn't want a headstone. You always wonder why someone goes without a headstone. It's very sad, especially if it's just a matter of finances. I'm sure he has enough fans that, a GoFundMe page could be created. And headstones, just a flat marker, they're not really that expensive. It's the rest of the funeral that's very expensive, but the headstone itself, from what I've heard, is, fairly inexpensive. But I'm sure glad at least that he has this, and it's really held up. for the last 6-7 years, in the weather and everything, you could still read it. Without this, you'd have no idea. It would just be an unmarked grave here. And I'm going to redo the GPS so it's actually where his gravesite is, since they have it off a little bit. Let me pan around here so you can get a little bit better idea of this section. This is toward the back of the cemetery. In fact, I don't know if it goes any further back than this. It is a very pretty cemetery, though. Kyle was born in Detroit, Michigan on September 13th, 1939, and died from a heart attack here in Fresno, California on September 10th, 2014. He died just 3 short days prior to his 75th birthday. And it's kind of ironic that he has such a tiny little grave marker for such a tall, huge man. He was 7 feet 2 inches and was known for his height. I mean, that's why he won many of the roles that he did. And he was well aware of how important his height was to his career and wrote an autobiography titled Making It Big in the Movies. I remember as a kid going to the drive-in theater with my family, all 5 of my brothers packed into a large station wagon, dressed in our PJs. Any of you do that back in the late 50s, early 60s? And the only movies I really remember seeing were the James Bond movies. And Goldfinger, I think, was my favorite. Maybe it was just because of the Shirley Bassey theme song, Goldfinger, which is still one of my favorites. I listen to it all the time. I've got it as one of my songs on my Spotify channel. So I've been watching James Bond movies my entire life, as I'm guessing most of you probably have as well. So once I knew that I was going to make this trip up here, up to Central California, I was really happy to see that Richard Kiehl is buried here, right in Fresno. And unfortunately, I've got to hit the road again, so I'm not going to spend much more time here today. But I definitely wanted to come and see if Richard Kiehl had a new headstone, and sadly he doesn't. So if any of you hear that a headstone has been placed, or if any of you contact his family and decide to set up a GoFundMe page, if money happens to be the issue and they just need to raise funds for the headstone, let me know, and I'll come back once the headstone has been placed and do another update. He certainly deserves to have a headstone, don't you think? So who is your favorite James Bond villain? Is it Richard Kiehl? And do you have a favorite James Bond movie? Please share with us in the comments section. It would be fun to know. This week, I want to thank my newest PayPal supporter, Curtis Ray, and my newest Patreon supporters, Carl Newkirk and Charles Schenk. Thank you so much, Curtis, Carl, and Charles, for your extra generous donations to my channel. They are very appreciated. So if you enjoyed today's brief trip to the past, don't forget to subscribe so you can join me on future trips. I typically upload 1 video a week, usually on Fridays, but some weeks I upload 2 or 3, so if you're not subscribed, you won't be notified, and you might end up missing some of the best ones. Thanks for subscribing and clicking that bell icon, which will make sure you get notified. And until next time, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.